Greetings once again, friends, live from Retro Central, sporting my birthday shirt. My name is Peter, and this is Consolation. As always, I thank you very much for taking the time to watch, and I hope that you'll get a little something out of what you're about to see. Today, on my birthday, I am going to talk about GameStop. No, don't boo, don't hit stop or move away from the page. This actually has to do with retro games, honestly. You've probably heard by now that GameStop is going to be rolling out a pilot program first to a couple of markets, and then I'm assuming is going to expand nationwide, where they're going to start accepting retro game trade-ins. They're going to accept NES systems and games. They're going to accept Genesis, Super Nintendo, PlayStation, Nintendo 64, and Dreamcast. So 6 platforms they're going to start to accept consoles, first-party accessories, and games. And you'll be able to trade those in at any GameStop store once this rolls out nationwide, and I think that will happen by the end of the year, if not well before. And you'll be able to get either store credit or cash for those items. So that's one part of the program. The other part is, as GameStop builds up this inventory of retro games, they're going to start to sell them. However, the sales will not be in store, at least not initially. The sales are going to be online only. So if you're used to buying retro games from Amazon or eBay, this will be no different, except you're going to be buying from GameStop themselves. So depending on how you feel about the chain, you may or may not decide to buy some games from there. The games are not guaranteed to be complete. They're still working out some kinks as to whether they're going to offer multiple listings for complete games with instructions and boxes and loose games, or just one fell swoop trade-in value and sale amount. So we'll have to see as the program progresses. Now, Jay from the Game Chasers recently put together a really good video talking about the pluses and minuses of the program, and I'll link the video a little bit later on so that you'll be able to check it out for yourself. It's a 20-minute video, but with Jay, he hits on a lot of really good points, and that's really the influence for this video today. What do I think of the program? What are the positives and negatives from where I'm coming from as an amateur collector myself? Well, the plus that I can see for people that have older games and systems that qualify is that they're going to have more places to trade these things in for value now. Up to now, you either have to go to a specialized retro game store, you have to put up listings online to be able to sell the stuff, which can be a real pain in the butt, or you bring it to a Goodwill or a thrift store and you donate it and you get nothing out of it altogether. So with this option, you have a lot more accessibility. There are GameStops seemingly everywhere, so finding a GameStop with your box of games and systems that you no longer want is going to get you either cash or store credit right away. And most people who are video game players are going to want to use these things for store credit to be able to get a copy of, say, Mortal Kombat X or MLB 15 The Show or another kind of game with as little money paid out of pocket as possible. So that's a plus for people with games that they're looking to get rid of or looking to sell. The other plus is that as GameStop builds its inventory, the hope is that more games that are tough to find at retro stores will become a bit more readily available as people start parting with stuff that they may not understand the value of or that they have. So all of a sudden, games like Final Fantasy III or Battletoads Double Dragon for the NES, or any of the Phantasy Star games, the games that are uncommon because once they come into a retro store, they're usually gone. Now with GameStop, hopefully they'll be able to build up an inventory of these so you won't have to keep looking. Hopefully you'll just be able to find it on their site and be able to order it, or hopefully sometime down the line, although I'm not sure this is going to happen, you might be able to go to a store and pick it up. But I don't know that that's going to be the end game. So it benefits collectors a little bit, and it benefits people that are looking to get rid of stuff that they really don't want anymore a lot. Those are the positives. The negatives, what really concern me, are these. First, mom and pop stores possibly stand to get hurt the most. right now with a mom and pop, with an independent retro game store like Game Depot that I like to go to in Holyoke, their used game inventory, their retro game inventory comes solely from people who come in and want to trade their games towards other games or other goods. If that decreases or even stops altogether for some of these stores where they're not able to replenish inventory that collectors or other people have bought, there's nothing to sell. And when there's nothing to sell, you have no business. So all of a sudden now, mom and pop stores are going to be competing with GameStop for inventory purposes, if nothing else. This may lead to higher trade-in values at smaller independent stores, but that also eats into their profit margins. So it's a very delicate balance. Now, as someone who is a firm believer in the mom and pop store model and how important they are, I would really hate to see this program do a lot of damage to these stores. I think that everyone should be able to exist on their own, but I can certainly see a situation where NES games and SNES games stop coming into these smaller stores and start going to GameStop, because there are so many more GameStops than smaller stores. So that's one thing that concerns me. And then, of course, as smaller game stores, if those get phased out, we're looking at fewer options as collectors, as people who are looking to build a retro library like I've been doing over the last few years. Game Depot has been a big ally in this, in achieving this goal, and being able to build up a library. Many of the NES games that you see behind me came from that store, and the only way that that store had those games was from people trading them in. So now, when I go back to Game Depot, if they don't have people trading those games in, they don't have anything to sell me, or I already have the games that they have in inventory and there's nothing new for me to add. So that makes those stores lose customers that are regulars because they just simply have nothing to spend their money on. And I'd hate to see smaller video game stores continuing to go by the boards. I think that they're very important not only to the collector economy, but just to the retro community in general. They're less corporate. They're more inviting to collectors. They build relationships with people who buy games regularly, so that you get better deals sometimes than you do at a corporate store where it's just what the price is and there's no room to move or to haggle. So that could be dangerous for collectors. The other thing, and Jay touched on this a little bit, is that the market may be affected. Market values for these games and systems may be affected by what GameStop does. What price model are they going to use? Are they going to go by eBay? Are they going to go by Amazon? Are they going to set their own prices? And how often are they going to fluctuate? Keep in mind that GameStop does price changes pretty much every day of the week. So if they see a game that's going out far more than it's coming in, you may start to see the value skyrocket. And when that happens, perhaps the same game will skyrocket at other locations, such as an Amazon or an eBay. Well, heck, this game was worth 20 on GameStop. Now it's 45, so now that's what I think we can get for it. And that would be bad. I understand that collecting video games can be a bit pricey. There's no getting around it. Once you collect a lot of common games that aren't the popular ones, like your Contras and your Castlevanias, you're going to start paying a bit more out of pocket to be able to fill in the holes in your collection. But the last thing you want as a collector is to have the game prices get so expensive that it prices a lot of people out. There are some people that have the money to spend, and there are others that don't. And for those people, just on a community level, losing those people and that interest in collecting is just an unfortunate thing. We have a nice little community of people in the retro community, between video creators and written content creators and people who just collect and like to talk about it online. And it's been a great group to be a part of for the last 3 years. You really hate to see that dwindle instead of continue to expand because market value is affected. The thing that I find interesting about the GameStop program, and the thing that I'll close on, is that it's not going to be in store. And for me, that's really a deal breaker. Right now, the only way that I don't buy games in store is if I buy them from Amazon. And the only time that I buy them on Amazon is if I'm given a gift card or if I'm trading in a textbook for school, where I have money that I can't use anywhere else. If I have just an Amazon gift card, then I'm going to buy things from Amazon. And more often than not, those things are older video games. But if I had my way, I wouldn't buy from them at all. I want to be able to see the game up front. I want to be able to look at the contacts or the disc. I want to be able to look at the packaging to see if everything's there. And I want to physically inspect it. I want to visually inspect it before I put my money down on it. I want to make sure to the best of my ability that it's going to work so that when I pop it into one of my systems, it's going to play. Ordering online through GameStop, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense. I can do the same thing at different sites. I can go through Amazon. I can go through eBay. I can go through Craigslist if I want and do things locally, although there's a larger chance of me getting shot or stabbed, I'm sure, but that's a story for another video. Whereas if you put the games in store, if you make shelving units for these retro games at certain GameStop locations, I will go there. If there's only one GameStop in my entire district and it happens to be, I don't know, 15, 20 miles away, I'll drive out there. I'll go. I do that now for Game Depot is about 15 to 20 minutes away from me, but I have no problem driving out there. Retro Games Plus, which is in Connecticut, is a farther haul, but it's somewhere that I want to go because it has the kind of games that I'm interested in. I'm not going to order from you online, however. For me, and perhaps it's me being a dinosaur, after all, I'm 43 today, for me, online has too many risks. You're not able to return the game right away. You have to ship it back and wait for your account to be credited. Whereas if I buy a game in store, I bring it home, it doesn't work, I can bring it back and either get refunded or another copy of the game the next day. So the fact that GameStop is not putting these in stores is troubling. I understand why, because honestly, GameStop stores don't have the room. They're still buried in Generation 7 games, meaning Wii, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360, of which there are a ton. Keep in mind that Generation 7 lasted almost a decade. So if you think about all of the different games that came out every year for 10 years, that's a lot of games that they have to account for on their store shelves. And they can't just give them away or price them at a couple of dollars a piece. So you have to be able to display them so that people will buy them. So there's no room to display your Donkey Kong Countries, your Final Fantasies, your Metroids. I see that problem at GameStop. I see that problem at another local chain called Gameplay USA, where they're very similar to GameStop in that they deal with everything, but they simply have no room to display all of the retro games that they have. So you either have to ask, or you have to assume, or if you don't want to have to deal with the employees there, you simply just forget it. If you're not going to display it, I'm not going to ask about it, I'm going to leave. So I understand that GameStop doesn't have the room, but hopefully down the line, maybe in the next year or two, as Generation 7 stuff starts to become a little bit more manageable in terms of volume, hopefully we'll start to see some of these retro games in the stores. And if they do, rest assured that I will be one of the people that will be right here in front of the camera talking about my experiences and how good or how bad an idea it would be to visit GameStop to buy the games. So there are good things about GameStop's retro program. There are bad things about GameStop's retro program. What do you think? I'd love to hear from you. I know that quite a few people have given their own opinions, and I'm curious to see how they compare to my own. So feel free to leave a comment, or you can drop me a line at pete@consolation.com and let me know what you think, and maybe I'll do a response video if I get enough email interest. In the meantime, thanks for watching Consolation on today, my birthday. I will be doing another video next week, but until then, thanks for watching Consolation, and take care.